Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us in this conference. And please join me to welcome to the podium Tom Ellis, the editor-in-chief of Kathimerini, the English edition, who is going to chair the presentations and discussions until the break. This is Mr. Tom Ellis.
Thank you very much. To be honest, I feel personally very happy that this thing is taking place and Kathimerini is coming to Washington. As a longtime correspondent, along with Alexis, we've been here for too long. Maybe I was a little bit longer than he was. And I feel that Kathimerini, and especially through the English edition, can act, and I think it does act, as a bridge between Greece and the rest of the world, and Greece and the diaspora. In that sense, I want to also say hi to Adonis, who has been the person we worked for, Alexis and myself, for years at the National Herald. And I wanted to say that I'm told by people I know, people I meet, that they read Kathimerini through the English edition, but it doesn't matter, it's Kathimerini, to learn about Greece. And I'm told by people who are government officials, international institutions, members, private sector. That says a lot, and also that means there's a lot of responsibility on our part to be balanced, fair, objective in presenting Greece. And I think Kathimerini, within the context of the Greek press, is doing that as much as one can expect this to happen in Greece. Finally, as a journalist, and because I've been here as a correspondent for many years, I'd like to say, I think I'm speaking on behalf of Alexis also, that in a way, seeing Katerina Sokou and Yannis Paleologos, who the first one is our correspondent in Washington, the other one is our soon-to-be correspondent in Brussels, I feel slowly that the torch is passing to a new generation of Greek journalists, and in both of them, I think I see the best for Kathimerini's future. On that note, I'd like to ask the Minister, Mr. Georgiadis, to join us for a discussion. The Vice Premier of North Macedonia and also the Assistant Secretary of State for Energy. We were supposed to also have Nikos Christodoulidis, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus, but he had a little bit more of an important meeting, the one with Mike Pompeo. So his meeting with the Secretary of State, he assured us that he'll rush to be here and maybe make it to the panel. If not, he'll join us afterwards. So, thank you, gentlemen, and let me move to that part. And start with Mr. Georgiadis, who is also the Vice President of the governing party. Excuse me. And ask him about, actually the Prime Minister has gave him what one could claim is the most important portfolio. Now, if you go into a debate within the government, you might say others feel it's more important, their portfolios, but it's definitely one of the most important ones. He is working on investments. He is working on bringing foreign investors in Greece. And I would like him to start with briefly telling us what's the prospect of the Greek economy right now, and then we'll move generally, and then we'll move into the energy part.
First of all, I want to thank you for the invitation. I want to thank Kathimerini and Delphi Forum for this great conference. And I have to say that Kathimerini English edition is really the newspaper from Greece that all the foreign institutions read. I clearly remember that the Troika would never believe any law that we would vote in the parliament if it would not be written in Kathimerini English edition. So you have a great leverage in our political system for this reason. And the truth is, it's a serious, good aspect of Greece abroad. And as a minister of the government, thank you for that. This is important for Greece, to have serious newspaper that people abroad can read and understand what's happening in the country very fast. So conference like that helps us in order to promote what is going on in Greece now and sends the messages we want. And the first message in the question I had is Greece is coming back. That's it. Greece is coming back, and it's coming back very fast. After a 10-year crisis, I think we are in the beginning of a fantastic decade because for various reasons, some things happen together that if I would say some years ago, nobody would believe. First of all, we have a total political stability. We are the most boring political system in the Western world. I don't want to make any comment about US. We'll just stay between EU borders. So after 10 years that everybody was saying what's happening to Greece and if we would have government and if one party will win and what happened with the communists that were coming and all these things, now everybody understands that we have a stable government that has a clear 4-year mandate, the majority in the parliament. Kyriakos Mitsotakis won all kind of elections exist in the country. 2 weeks ago, it was the last election in the Technician Association. We took the 40%. And the mandate is very clear. Second, we won the election with the right agenda. We didn't say to the people before, vote us and we'll hire you in the public sector, we'll stop privatization program. We said vote us and we'll accelerate privatizations. We will not hire you in the public sector, but we will do our best to create jobs in the private sector, collecting foreign direct investments, creating new jobs, well-paid jobs. So now we have a clear mandate to do reforms, to do privatizations, to collect foreign investments. And that's exactly what we're doing. You can see that in the markets. The rates of the 10-year Greek bond to date was 140, which is very low. And the prospects in front are really great. So if some of you would think to come to invest in Greece, this is the time. And I want to finish these opening remarks by saying many people ask me if I want to invite Greek Americans to come to invest in Greece. What we're trying to do is not try to persuade someone to come and invest for patriotic reason or for begging reason. We are transforming the business environment in Greece in a very business-friendly environment, and we are making the conditions right in order a serious investor to come and have a profit, to come and find good opportunities for his vision and his companies. And we believe that since we are fixing an environment like that, at the end foreign direct investment will come and local investment, as Mr. Mytilineos, he's doing great investments and he has already announced more investments in the future. We're very happy about it and we support him strongly. So come and invest now and you will earn a lot of money. This is the message.
You mentioned privatizations. Let me build on that.
And I forgot to mention my friend Jeffrey Payet, because I want to say that publicly. He really worked very hard, and then I will take some more things in order all these things to happen between Greece and the United States, and I really thank you for that, really.
Speaking of privatizations, and since this is the energy panel, can you expand on that area, if you can?
This is the best area ever. First of all, we have already announced, and before I entered the room, I was watching a video from our parliament today. Our Minister of Energy and Environment, Mr. Georgiadis, was fighting in the parliament against some MPs of Syriza because we announced that we're going to privatize DDE. DDE are the distribution lines of electricity in the country. And suddenly some people from Syriza started to claim that the PPC companies should stay in public and all these things they were traditionally saying. And then Mr. Georgiadis reminded them that during Syriza government, ADMIE was sold by 49%, DESFA was sold by 66%, so they cannot continue saying the same things they were saying when they were young, because now their history follows them. So DDE is under privatization process. This is a very good business for a serious investor because it's a fixed market And if someone come and invest and renew all the distribution lines, then he can have a very solid profit for many years in front. So we think that this will have a great success, and this will help us to gain money for the restructuring of PPC, which is the biggest project, because you know PPC wants a full restructuring, and we're ready to do it by using this money. The second big privatization program is DEPA. We're very ambitious on that privatization program because we need a serious foreign investor or local investor, for sure. I don't really differ them. We want investments. If they will be local or foreign or joint venture, this is a detail for me. So we have this tender that will give DEPA and the management to the private sector.
DEPA being?
The infrastructure around the country in order to fix the distribution lines for the natural gas. You see, Greece in natural gas using in houses is very far behind. Only EPA in Thessaly and part of Chalkidiki has done some good job, but the mainland is really far behind. So there is a lot of space in front, and for infrastructure, and for distribution. So this will be a huge privatization, and I think it will be really successful. You know that our government passed through the parliament the contracts Syriza government has prepared. They didn't vote it in the parliament, even though they had signed it, but this is politics, about the licensing for investigation for natural gas under Aegean Sea, south of Crete and the Ionian Sea, which we hope that there will be real good results. And in the wider scale, I mean, in a more important scale, let's say, our government really supports the East Med pipeline that could start from Israel through Cyprus and through Greece to Italy, because this plan would really give a sense of making European Union natural gas market less dependent by Russian gas, and by bringing Israeli gas and Cyprus gas when it starts digging out, and Greece gas when it starts digging out to Central Europe consumers, which would be a real fantastic news. So into the country, real big privatization program has already been started, and they will be launched very fast. I mean, in the next 3 to 4 months, no more. So real investors will come. And to conclude, in the renewable energy, which is very important for us, because you know that we have decided with our European friends that we'll decarbonize our energy sector much faster than we thought in the past. Until 2028, we have decided to close all our lignite plants, which traditionally had the energy sector in Greece. And we want to build much more natural gas plant and, of course, renewable energy. I mean, solar and wind energy. So in all these fields, investment field is open to business, and with a government that is really business friendly and wants to deliver.
You covered all my questions, but anyway, let's go to the Deputy Prime Minister of the North Macedonia. I was in the Thessaloniki summit last week, and your Prime Minister, Mr. Zaev, spoke about the need of the country to be part of the energy schemes in the Balkans. So can you explain to us what the situation is energy-wise in North Macedonia, what the prospects are, and if you have specific plans?
Yeah, thank you very much, first of all, for your invitation, for my participation in this eminent event. Congratulations for good organization, and I will be very concrete and precise on your question. North Macedonia is a small country. Like small country, must be open from any point of view, especially in energy area. When I'm saying from any point of view, I'm thinking, first of all, from the economical point of view. That means for FDIs, foreign direct investors, for cooperation, for changing of goods, peoples, and everything what is relating with an economy. But especially in energy, I don't like to be boring with numbers. I can say only with one sentence that all numbers in previous 2 years are growing. And we have really good results from economical point of view. starting from decreasing of unemployment, increasing of salaries, increasing of economical growth. Maybe I can share with you one number that we have increasing of industrial production more than 6% in the half year 2019 in comparison to 2018. The last month, September and August, increased 9.8, 6.1%, and that means that this trend is going on, and I hope that now the third quarter in the year will be more than 4% increasing on GDP, or on the end of the year we will have something between 3.5 and 4%, which is significantly higher in cooperation with minus 1.8 when we take the power in the government 2.5 years ago. This is the whole economical picture and also the good results in FDIs, but when we are discussing about the energy, and I can focus my answer on this question particularly, that means that we must be open, and when we are discussing about the energy, we have to discuss about three main questions. The first one question is infrastructure for energy. The second one is the source of energy resources, whatever they are, electricity, gas, oil, everything. And the third one is legislative. Those three areas are very important for determining energy life and living in one country. I can start with infrastructure. Electricity infrastructure is quite good. That means that North Macedonia is quite good connected with the neighboring countries with transmission lines for electricity, 400 kV level, even two with Greece. Now we are under this, we are in the stage of the building. The tendering procedure is ongoing for 400 kV level with Albania, and with this transmission line and existing 8 transmission lines, we are very well connected with the neighboring countries. What is missing in our country is well connection with the gas infrastructure. In this moment, we have only one pipeline and one connection through Bulgaria, very much depending on Gazprom. And this is not a good situation in our country, and this is the reason why our main priority in infrastructure, in energy infrastructure, is interconnector, the gas interconnector between North Macedonia and Greece. And I'm using this opportunity to kindly ask Greek side to also to work with us. Some processes are ongoing in this moment, and I think that this interconnector is very important for us. Why? Because with this gas pipeline from the center of our country to the connecting point in Greece, we will be connected with several possibilities for supplying gas in our country, in North Macedonia, from TAP project, and also for LNG terminals on the coast of the Aegean Sea. And this gives us opportunity to increase competitiveness on our market, and also to increase the gas business anyhow, and to supply the gas to the final customers. In the meantime, we are spending a lot of money in gas infrastructure inside in the country, bringing the gas in any big town in the country, and this pipeline inside in the country is already in the final stage of the building. That means that main parts of the country will be covered with the infrastructure inside internally in the country. I can say a few words what we are doing in this moment for this project. In this moment, we are in ongoing process of feasibility studies already done. The way where the gas pipeline will pass is already determined, and we have in this moment ongoing process for environmental study and basic design. That means that we are in the very final stage of preparing of the tendering procedure, and also we secure financing for this project with AIP, European Investment Bank from Luxembourg. And that means that we are ready for this project. That means we have the technical documentation, we have environmental study, and we have financial sources for the project. That means if the Greek side is ready also, because building pipeline up to the border means nothing. We must be connected inside. Our public entity for public enterprise for this infrastructure. It's NER, National Energy Resources. They are connected with DESFA. They are working with DESFA together and with the regulatory body of for energy in Greece. And I hope that we will be finalize this project very soon. Will be good for Greek side because in this case they will earn some amount of money for transportation the gas in North Macedonia, but also will be very useful for North Macedonia because in this case we will increase competitiveness in our country. This is from the point of view of infrastructure. From the point of view of the sources, unfortunately in all Southeast countries of the Europe, I can say that there are a lot of depending of the thermopower plant coal, based on the coal. And this is on the north, in North Greece, this is in North Macedonia also, in Regbitola, and also in Serbia, in Bulgaria, in all countries around. That means that we have to be focused in something what is called today energy transition. I think that energy transition is very important. Energy transition means to transfer and to transit from existing production of electricity to the green technologies and renewable energies. We did a lot in this direction in our country. We already organized a few windmill parks, or simply saying up to 300 megawatt installed capacity in renewable energy. We organized those days, that means in the frame of those 2 years. In comparison that we have until now, not more than 100 megawatt installed capacity. That means that for 2 years we tripled this installed capacity. And finally, and I will finish with this sentence about the legislative, we implement the energy law in 2018, May, and we implement all packages and regulatives from European Union in this law, and energy community, which is contacting points for our countries with European Union. In the last report a few days ago, they said that the North Macedonia is the champion in making reforms in the energy area, and with these reforms we open a lot of possibilities, and I'm using this opportunity to invite all investors to come and to explore the possibilities in North Macedonia to invest in energy area. And I can announce only that we have very interesting and very successful tendering procedure for the photovoltaics, where we start with the giving premium, but because we obtain the offers for zero premium, we go in the opposite direction to collect money for offering the land with connection to the investors, and the numbers were incredible for 19 megawatt installed capacity only, but all packages around 62 megawatts. For 19 megawatt installed capacity, the company offers 2.5 million euro only to obtain the right to build photovoltaics without any premium, and to be responsible for balancing, and additional to pay for connection, but fixed price, which was announced in advance. I think that is the most successful project in the region in this moment from the point of view of photovoltaics. Sorry, because I was a little bit extensive, but the area of energy is not easy to be explained in few sentences.
May
Thanks.
I ask, but very, very briefly, will the decision by the European Union, as a result of President Macron, but let's say the European Union, not to green light the beginning of accession, does this influence all the energy plans you just presented? Don't go into detail. I'm just wondering if that decision makes it, influences one way or another.
First of all, it's very important to make reforms in all areas, including energy, because of our citizens, not because of European Union. But definitely, if we have the date of negotiation with European Union, this helps a lot to attract investors and give them security to invest in the country for foreign investors and domestic investors equally.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Georgiadis, before I go to Mr. Fannon, he's asking for some, he's talking about connection to Greece energy-wise. How does Greece view that? Briefly,
sure.
so we can...
For sure, we're very positive on that. I'm sure that our Prime Minister discussed that with Prime Minister Zaev a few days ago in Thessaloniki. They had their second meeting. The main idea of our government is that we, and I think the whole political system of Greece, with very few exemptions, we want to have very good relations with North Macedonia, and we want to help them to have prosperity. We care about stability in the region, and if we can be useful, we will be there.
Mr. Assistant Secretary. Stability in the region, the key word for U.S. diplomats for years and years. Now I sympathize with you even if we disagree on certain policies because the president sometimes says other things than the diplomats are supposed to carry. So let me ask, Turkey is the big guy in the area, in the East Med. Energy-wise, we have Israel, Greece, and Cyprus on a trilateral cooperation scheme that everybody supports, and we have the 3+1 with the US. I'm wondering, do you feel Turkey has to be part of that? Are you concerned about Turkey's acts in the area that one could even claim that they threaten even a US company, ExxonMobil, which is working in the Cypriot EEZ?
Well, thanks for giving me the softball. First, thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here among so many good friends. I'd like to first recognize Greek government's speaking to the reforms and opening up of the private sector. You know, I was reflecting on, I have a global remit, and what we focus on is that nexus where energy is really a proxy for other foreign policy issues. We're not a technical agency at the Department of State, but what we keenly recognize is energy is more than BTUs and barrels. It's foundational for economic prosperity and progress and political stability. Our own energy abundance story from scarcity to abundance was about doing the same things that the minister was reflecting on, which is getting, it was not an abundance story because of government decree, it was because of government restraint. In harnessing and unleashing the private sector, sending the right kind of signal to innovate and get after it and develop energy and develop new forms of partnership. And that brings me to the Eastern Mediterranean. I've been in the job for 18 months. Travel all over the world. I've been to nowhere so frequently as the Eastern Mediterranean region. I've been to Lebanon, Jordan, Cyprus, Israel twice, Egypt twice, and Athens 3 times. It is a considerable focus for our foreign policy. You mentioned the 3+1 dialogue. The respective states keenly recognize that energy has an important role to play in terms of economic progress, development, and broader political stability. We approach the region really as one of an inclusive approach. We believe that energy historically has been something that has been seen as a source of conflict, something to fight over. But we really see as energy as a catalyst for cooperation, and where energy cooperation can perhaps lead to areas of collaboration that extend beyond just a trading relationship. You know, I think we've seen, it's just not conceptual. We also see what the Cairo-led Eastern Med Gas Forum, where we have so many different countries present. We have the Palestinians with the Israelis. It's a very inclusive approach, and what we would like to see is more countries be a part of that. We're not what can't happen is for this energy to be developed without cooperation. I mean, Israeli gas was too vast for the domestic, for it to be commercial for domestic use. They had to create new trading relationships. And we see that more and more. And so that's the approach that we have with the region, and that's one of the key reasons why it's one of our priorities.
On Turkey, the role of Turkey, because it's energy hungry, and that's understandable, but you have to follow some rules and respect international law and respect other countries. And we, as Greeks, we might be a little bit biased, or Cypriots, but we don't see Turkey acting that way. I was wondering how you feel Turkey is acting, and should it be part of these schemes? Because we also have the Greece, Cyprus, Egypt, with huge reserves in Azor. How do you deal with Turkey, which is arguably a big country, as I said, energy hungry, but it doesn't seem to play by the rules?
Yeah, really, again, see this as a story, a positive story, positive developments, and there are clearly headwinds that you're describing. We would encourage to resist any kind of provocative behavior. We would like to see more of an inclusive approach. Again, I don't know how these energy resources will be developed, made commercial, and transported without levels of cooperation. We have ongoing discussions, diplomatic overtures, discussions with Turkey, and those are ongoing. The Secretary, of course, has made his views quite clear. But our approach generally is, let's all get in the tent, row in the same direction. I think we'll all be better off for it. There are political clouds that can persist. But when it comes to energy, what we find is that there can be meaningful collaboration, that there's a sense of pragmatism that can be adopted so that you can create the energy. You mentioned Turkey is energy hungry. You can get the energy that's necessary to power your economy. It's incumbent on all states to look past whatever kind of political clouds may be, long simmering concerns, and develop those win-win relationships. And I go back to, we talked about Israel and Egypt. That was, have Israeli gas throwing to Egypt. It's something probably unthinkable 5 years ago, but it's happening. And again, there are certainly political clouds that have persisted there. I use that as a proof of concept that if they can kind of make things work out, hopefully that's a lesson for others in the region.
And a final question to you again. The U.S. is becoming a big producer, exporter of gas, shale gas. The ambassador here is pushing for having Alexandroupoli become a hub. What's the prospect of U.S. gas entering the southeastern European market through Greece? I mean, you name it, but it's up to you.
Yeah, sure, thank you. Look, the U.S. energy abundance, I think we're all still reconciling it with that psychologically from the U.S. perspective, but certainly globally. And we understand why. I mean, the U.S. just started exporting LNG in earnest in 2016. At that time, we were the 15th largest exporter of gas in the world. 2.5 years later, today, we're third. And we're projected to be number one within 3 to 5 years. The U.S. gas is already having material effects on energy prices in Europe. According to the International Energy Agency, just the notion of U.S. LNG on the market has saved European consumers $8 billion last year. In Lithuania, they built an FSRU to bring on gas called the Independence. Russia didn't like it very much. They built it anyway. And overnight, their gas prices dropped 20%. U.S. gas is having transformative effects on global markets, including in terms of the European context, and I would argue that we're only at the beginning stages of that. It's not just the volumes, the liquidity that's happening, but it's also the way in which gas is being traded. It's an innovative new model, which I would suggest that again, it's up to the commercial participants to determine how they want it and how their needs are going to be met. And there's no longer a requirement to consider kind of the way things have always been. I think it's a new day, and I certainly see more U.S. gas coming to Europe.
Mr. Georgiadis, can I ask you, there was a discussion about south of Crete, huge reserves, and then a lot of people said, okay, let's relax, maybe it's not that huge. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that front? Are we the next
There were some...
Saudi Arabia, or are we not?
I hope we will be. No. There were some articles in some newspapers, but they are not standing on real results. I mean, real excavation hasn't started yet, so we're not know exactly what's going on. There are some scientists, and that's why the article was there, that claim that south of Crete there is really a very huge natural gas resources. But this is something that will be proved when these investigations really start. So let us be calm. Most probably, since what has found in Israel and in Cyprus, since the place is almost the same, most probably gas is there.
In
So-
Egypt, so the whole area.
Yes, and since you ask about the Turks, this is a big concern, what's going on with the Turks exactly there. Because you know they have all these ships that are going around Cyprus. They for sure evaluate all international law in this case. And of course, nobody would be comfortable if something like that would happen to the Aegean or to Crete or anyone else. So it's something that we have everybody be very careful about, because this could go very wrong, and nobody would like something like that.
Thank you very much. I think it would be interesting to move to the private sector and have Mr. Mytilineos, one of the biggest Greek companies on that area, sector, share some thoughts with us about the world, not only Greece, the region. So I'd like to thank you for your discussion, and we'll move to our next speaker. Thank you very much.